Good morning. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church, a community of youth, adults, and children sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Kristen Daniels and a member of our board of directors. To share our request for today's meditation, please place it in the chat box or add it to our meditation bowl, which is in the Soul Work Center, just before the opening hymn. Please gain consent before you put someone's full name in the bowl or the chat. As always, you are welcome to attend a small group conversation following the service, both on Zoom or in the Emerson Alcove. Visit the social hall for more informal time of community, cookies, and information about upcoming events. Community cookies and information about upcoming events and projects are also available in the social hall, if you just forgot what I said. We are trying to wrap up our annual pledge drive. A number of additional people submitted pledges this week, but we still have a way to go until we hear from everyone. All are welcome to make a pledge to WBUUC for the coming year. If you'd like more information or to take care of filling out your pledge, stop by our pledge table in the atrium. Religious education staff member Nico Van Ostrand and Reverend Roger are offering a 6-week class on transgender inclusion that starts next week. Want to learn what spirituality has to do with trans inclusion? Excited to move WBUUC towards a culture of welcome? Confused about pronouns? Wishing for space to explore your relationship to gender? No matter where you are on your personal journey towards trans inclusion at our church, you are welcome. Check the e-news for more information and registration. The class is capped at 12 and is beginning to fill up. We have an announcement from members of our lead minister search team.
Good morning. Actually, it's a great morning, and I'll tell you why. I'm Deborah, she, her. I represent the Ministerial Search Committee, and we have great news. A few weeks ago, we told you we were down to the last 3. Now we have a winner. Wow. It is party worthy, that's for sure. Yeah. It was a unanimous vote on the part of the committee. We were really pleased with this person. We can't share anything about them to you quite yet. They still have to report to their own people. Obviously, I think you understand that need, but it'll be coming very soon. So part of what you can do now, your part in this process, is to keep your eyes peeled for emails and newsletter and so forth. We're going to be communicating a lot to you in the next couple of weeks for information, not only about the candidate, but the how-tos and wherefores coming up in the next month. Particularly notable is at the end of April, Sunday, April 29, the candidate will be here to give the Sunday services. They'll be here all the week to visit with people, and you'll have opportunities to meet them. And then May 7th, the following Sunday, they'll also give the service. So again, you get to see them live and in person. And then almost immediately after the last service, there will be in-person and virtual meeting, congregational meeting for you to vote. You can vote up or you can vote down. I'm sorry. I'm a little biased and I don't want to, tell you how to vote. So keep your eyes peeled. There's going to be a lot of information coming at you, email and otherwise. What else do I have here? I just want to say on behalf of the committee, we really, really appreciate your involvement and your continued support of us and the trust that you've given us. We're really happy with this choice, and we really think you will be too. All right, that's the last of my canvassing there. All right, thank you.
Exciting. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world.
Come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place. I'm Reverend Jack, and my pronouns are he, him.
My name is Teal, pronoun she, her. I was a gestational carrier, commonly known as a surrogate, for a family who needed extra help bringing their children into the world. It was a wonderful experience, but also full of challenges. Being a surrogate is totally out of the norm for almost everyone, which invites curiosity and sometimes unsolicited questions and judgments. I worked in a job every day where I met new people, and being visibly pregnant, I had no idea what an irritation it was going to be that often people wanted to ask me about my pregnancy when it had nothing to do with my job. It was difficult to explain that I was carrying a baby that wasn't mine, a baby that wasn't going to be a sibling to my other two children. How on earth is that going to work? Isn't it confusing for your kids? How did your husband agree to this? And my personal favorite, how are you going to give one of your babies away? All great questions, right? Though I can tell that you're shocked about them too. This line of questioning was exhausting and often hurtful. Sometimes I had the energy to offer a snarky response to put these people back to their place, but oftentimes I had to shield myself and the baby by lying, not telling the true story about who this baby was. It was just easier, but it was exhausting and made me sad. I guess this is the reality of doing something out of the norm. There will be some disrespectful questions, but we don't have to live in that reality here. We get to encourage our community to be completely themselves, to help one another explore our truths. What works for me isn't going to work for you. I don't think everyone with the ability should be a surrogate. Of course I don't. And if you do decide to explore that journey, I'll trust you, and I'll try to be supportive in any way that I can. Believe me, I appreciated the support of this community, and I didn't lie to any of you. I hope this was inspiration for some of you to live outside the norm and to be joyful in that space. As UUs, we believe in accepting one another and encouraging each other to live in our true selves, to honor each other's stories and journeys. We strive to have a place where people are comfortable to live their truth. This is a much more joyful and loving space to be. Let's light this chalice so we can be brave in living our truths, so we can be brave in accepting other people's truths, and to be joyful and loving together.
I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him. I invite you to join in the opening words in unison. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn today is number 168, One More Step in the larger gray hymnal. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit wherever you are and join in singing.
My name is Nico, and my pronouns are they, them. Oftentimes, the stories we share here on Sunday mornings take us to different times and worlds, but sometimes it is important to share stories that represent our lives here and now. One of the reasons we might share a story is to open a window into our lives and to illustrate for others what is important to us, how we live our lives, and who we share our lives with. These are important stories. This morning's story is drawn from the check-in ritual we do each Sunday during our circles for children and youth. I've made up some of the names in the dialogue, but this story can and does happen in some form in the classrooms every week. Each Sunday, Ray prepares the classroom for the kids. He sets out the chalice, arranges the chairs in a circle, and makes sure there are enough fidgets in the basket. He takes pride in making the room feel welcoming. As the kids come in, he greets them one by one. Hi, Minty. Hi, Federico. Hi, Sam. Ray knows how nice it is to be greeted by name and makes a point of doing so for the kids. A child who attends regularly comes around the corner with a freshly made name tag. Before Ray can say anything, she says excitedly, "Don't say hi to me yet. Read my new name tag first." Ray smiles and carefully deciphers the handwriting on her name tag. "Hi, Anya," he says, noting that she's using a different name this week than she had been previously. "Hi, Ray," Anya shouts back, darting into the room. But the welcome doesn't stop there. After they light the chalice together, it is time for a check-in. Each person holds a stone in their hand, feeling its weight. They all take a breath together, and then they go around the circle, each sharing their name, pronouns, and one thing on their heart, with space to say pass if they don't feel like sharing. My name is Minty, and my pronouns are she, they. Today I'm feeling happy because I get to go to my friend's house later. My name is Federico, and I don't know what pronouns are. Ray explains that pronouns are how we refer to you when we don't use your name, and offers a few examples. They, them, she, her, Caesar, he, him. Oh, he, him, says Federico, and I'm feeling silly today. My name is Anya, and my pronouns are she, her. Today I'm excited because I have a new name tag. Ray notices that the other kids are excited for Anya and her new name tag. They switch over pretty quickly to her new name and stick to it for the rest of their time together. Ray recalls that some of the kids had a lot of questions about Minji's she, they pronouns at first, but before long, they were incorporating both she, her, and they, them pronouns into their conversations about Minji. Ray had to admit that sometimes he didn't really understand pronouns either, and since he'd had the same name his whole life, he couldn't fully relate to the experience of introducing himself with a new one.
But he could tell with each interaction how important it was to greet people with their correct names and pronouns. He didn't need to fully understand the ins and outs of gender to understand that part of welcoming the kids in, part of living Unitarian Universalism out loud, is calling people by their names and pronouns. Well, as I said, this happens every single Sunday. And the flip side of calling people by their name and pronouns is the powerful moment of sharing your own name and pronouns. So in just a little while, I will invite us to give it a try. We will all be talking at the same time, so we won't really hear everyone's name and pronouns, even though that's normally the point of this exercise. But I'm setting it up this way intentionally to give you a little bit of privacy. You may be very comfortable with your name and pronouns and want to shout it out. You may be a little unsure about this whole thing, but this is a chance to try saying your name and pronouns and maybe mess it up, but no one's going to hear you anyway, so challenge yourself to give it a try. Or maybe you're in that beautiful and tender place of exploring your own gender, and you want to try whispering a name and pronouns that you are coming to claim as your own, but are not ready to share out loud. And if you are in that place of exploration, where it doesn't feel right to participate in this right now, I honor you, and I invite you to take this moment to silently soak in the energy of those around you. So I'll count to 3, and wherever you are in the way that feels right to you, I invite you to say, my name is blank, and my pronouns are blank. Fill in the blanks. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for sharing your name and your pronouns, and welcome. I'm glad you're here today.
Hello. One of you painted a room or held a hammer the right way. If you have, then you qualify to be a Habitat for Humanity volunteer. This week's special collection is Habitat for Humanity. My name is Jeff Ranta. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the coordinator for White Bear UUC Habitat for Humanity. I took over for Rick Gelbman a few years ago. Many of you may know Rick there. Every summer, White Bear UUC partners with Habitat for Humanity to build a building project here in the Twin Cities. Habitat is a local organization that helps build homes that are safe and affordable, and they build with lots and lots of volunteer hours. We're looking for help in 2 ways this year. One way is to get involved in a building project. During our building project, White Bear UUC is going to work side by side with 2 local churches, St. Mary's the Lake Catholic Church and St. John the Episcopal Church there, and we will be going August 28th to August 30th over to St. Paul Park. There'll be 15 of us on site at that time from the 3 churches, so it's kind of a neat collaboration of churches. There's no building experience necessary, although you got to be 18. We've already had one person though sign up and said, hey, I'm going to bring my 16-year-old daughter. As long as there's an adult accompanying a 16 or 17-year-old, come on in. Bring them along. That'd be great. There. None of the volunteers, the volunteer crew is professionals. I'm a retired science teacher. I have painted a wall and I've pounded a few nails there. We're also looking for a crew to help prepare one lunch. So if you're interested in coming to help make a lunch for one day for about 15 people, that'd be great. The second way you can help out today is, oh, by the way, I forgot to almost mention, I'm gonna be for that volunteering, I'm gonna be in the social hall with a little booth to give you further information or to talk to you about the project or sign up at that point. But the second way you can get involved is with a special collection today. Our goal is to donate $1,500 from this church this year. So if you can give, your generosity is helpful. You can donate in 3 ways. One is on the White Bear UUC website online. Send a check to White Bear UUC or leave a check in the office lockbox there with Habitat in the memo. Or you can use text to give, found in the order of service or on the chat box there. Either way, please indicate Habitat. Thanks a lot.
That was the Seke Aldash prayer from Transylvania that I referenced a couple weeks ago in the sermon. Thank you, and you nailed the Hungarian as far as I can tell. This morning, as we gather as a spiritual community, maybe 90 in this room, 50 households online, we take this moment of pause to ground our attentiveness to the movements of the Spirit within and around us. Doing so, especially in the midst of challenges and heartache, is a keystone of spiritual well-being. And so I invite you to center yourselves wherever you are, to feel the connections to your interior self, to the earth that is our home, and to fellow travelers, human and other, near and far. This morning, we hold in our hearts tenderly and compassionately and fiercely the families of Nashville who are living through such a horrific and senseless loss of loved ones. The candle burning up front here during the service symbolizes these lives that have been lost and the ripples and waves of pain that keep wreaking havoc on our nation. We lament this uniquely American tragedy of mass shootings, which seems to go on, seemingly no end in sight. We lament that with this event, some among us have taken it as a chance to heap yet more hatred and oppression on trans and gender binary people, non-binary people. May all of the families in Nashville who are grieving feel held in love. May each one of us find ways to keep moving toward a beloved community in which all are welcome, all are free to be who they are and who they are called to be, especially our children and their parents and teachers and caregivers. We ask that they be cared for and that they and all of us live free of the fear of such horror. This morning, we also hold in love the students of Roseville High School, including some in this beloved community where a fellow student died by suicide this week. May all who are mourning this awful, tragic loss feel held in love. May all who feel so lost and desolate that they are considering such an act hear and feel the love of others and realize within themselves that the world is a better place with them alive. May all who feel this way reach out for help and support. We hold this morning all those who are struggling with mental and physical illness, addiction, oppression, violence, poverty, all the other challenges. May all who are struggling feel held and find a path to wholeness. And we hold all those whose hearts are full of joy today, for we know that even in times of challenge for many, some among us are experiencing the beautiful gifts our world offers. In our world and our individual lives, joy and woe are indeed finally woven together. We have one submission for prayer today, which is to lift up those in Nashville and to pray and act for safety for all our children and teachers. In these next moments, I invite you to say aloud or in your heart the name of people you are particularly holding today. Amen. We have two readings today. The first is a poem by Brianne Janae called Against Mastery. Give me no seat at the table. Let no trembling hands lay food on my plate. Let me lord over no one and nothing, not the dog curled up on the bed, not the land nor children who wander through my care. Let me learn from the babies and be always laughing at my ignorance, only humble discovery. Give me and keep my eyes on the pattern of birds' wings breaking the blue overhead. Let me face the ones I harm with open palms and let love be the method and measure of my worth. Keep my heart with my people and the coal glowing beneath my feet. Let me run and run and run and run and let the flame of the torch never go out. I am here with you to burn the house down. Keep me to this. Cut me down before you let me lose my way. And a second reading is just a short quote from Arundhati Roy. There's really no such thing as the voiceless. There are only the deliberately silenced or the preferably unheard.
I get to follow that. Thank you, choir. It is such a powerful and valuable thing to find a community where you feel a sense of belonging, to feel strong in your community, and to truly feel like we are one. Perfect anthem for today. That sense of belonging grows from the soil of community. And in order to grow, it needs water and sunshine. Or put another way, it needs the love and care that we commit to share with one another in our covenant. Love and covenant are interwoven, and they involve a deep sense of respect. This past Friday was the Transgender Day of Visibility, so it is apt that our main topic today is respecting one another and one another's pronouns. Some of you have been thinking about this for quite some time, and you might feel particularly accomplished in the field of gender studies and progressive politics. If so, wonderful. I'm happy for you, and there might still be more to learn today. Some of you might be feeling behind. You might be feeling a sense of pre-regret, as if once I preach this sermon, you're going to feel bad. Maybe you've been faced with your own lack of understanding, or maybe you've gotten it wrong in the past. Well, let me assure you, this sermon is not about shaming or blaming. The sermon is about the act of love that is entailed when you use someone's correct pronouns, an act of love and respect, and it doesn't even necessarily need your understanding, just your action. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself a few hypothetical questions. Why do we share our pronouns so regularly here at this church? Why is this important? Do I have to? What if I get it wrong? Great questions. Those 4 questions actually provide the outline of my sermon, so let's dive in. Can I get a show of hands real quick? How many of you have ever experienced someone making incorrect assumptions about who you are? Anybody? Oh, okay, quite a few of you. Wow. And how did that feel? I'm seeing some thumbs down. Yeah, you're not alone. I feel that way too. I'm someone who prides myself on being a good communicator, and I have a strong desire to be known. So I get frustrated when someone tells me that I'm something that I'm not, or tells me that they don't see me as something that I believe myself to be. And don't worry, I do have real examples of both of these. First, I am regularly told that I am Irish. I know. Well, let me be more specific. People often think that I'm Irish, then I tell them, no, I'm German and Danish. And then they look at me and they say, no, you're definitely a little bit Irish. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that I have red hair, and so do many Irish people. But for the record, there are more redheaded Germans than redheaded Irish people. Usually, these conversations happened while I was working at an Irish pub. I mean, this feels a little tricky, like the context or maybe the drinking might be throwing them off a little bit. And also, yes, I know that my ancestry is definitely Northern European, and I know that centuries ago, the borders weren't the same as they are today. But I have a strong connection to my Danish great-grandfather, Rasmus. I still have family members who live there, and I have visited some of them. I know that part of myself and resonate strongly with that particular ancestor's immigration story to the US. And then a complete stranger goes and tells me that they know me better than I know myself. If this were an experience on Yelp, I would give it 0 stars. I don't like it, and it just confuses me. Okay, now that's a second example. When I first came out as a gay man, I was told by many people that it was just a phase that I would grow out of. Maybe you've heard this too. Some people told me I was confused or misled. One important adult in my life actually asked me, "Who taught you that?" As if being gay were a learned skill. I told that person that no one had taught me to be gay, but it was something that I had been slowly learning about myself. And I was taking a big leap of faith by trusting them with this information that would be news to them. I was trying to be patient, But the moment just really didn't sit well with me. Plus, I realized that the flip side of this question didn't make sense. So I asked them a question back. Who taught you to be straight? However, since this person was an authority figure in my life, that sassy question didn't go over so well. Oh, young and naive Jack. For those of you who raised your hands earlier, are these stories resonating with you? I imagine you might have felt similarly confused or angry, misunderstood or frustrated. Now, here's the rub. When someone tells you their pronouns and you don't use them correctly, it's pretty similar. They told you a bit about themselves, and then by using the wrong pronouns for that person, you're basically treating them like you know them better than they know themselves. It's similar to constantly mispronouncing someone's name or using the wrong name altogether. From the surface, this sermon seems like it should be an easy one. If someone says that the pronouns are they, them, use they, them pronouns. The end. Amen. Closing hymn. Right? But it's just a little trickier than that. I've seen people consistently get this wrong. And I understand that it's tricky. Many of us, maybe even all of us, have been culturally trained to put every single person that we meet into two distinct boxes based on our understanding of their gender. And we have done this from a very early age. Without asking for clarification or permission, we are choosing a person's pronouns for them. This has just been standard practice for years and years and years. It is the status quo. But guess what? We are learning that that status quo has been hurting people, especially those who are trans or non-binary, or people who don't conform to gender norms and expectations. We are in the process of disrupting this harmful status quo, and it has been a bit of an uphill battle. This disruption has been instigated by the people who are most affected and harmed by this practice, and that is our trans and non-binary siblings. This practice is just one step along our journey toward trans inclusion. And for those of you interested in that journey, I hope you do sign up for that class. Another example of people making incorrect assumptions was shared this morning by Teal. I'm so glad that she was able to share more about her journey of surrogacy in her chalice lighting this morning. It's another example of how people often make incorrect assumptions about you. And for me, hearing that was a good reminder. I am positive that in the past, when I saw someone that was pregnant, I would assume to know quite a bit about that person. Now that I've heard Teal's story, the next time I see someone who is pregnant, I won't presume to know the whole story. Because that's just it. We barely ever know the whole story. No, wait, not barely ever. We never know the full story. We are complex people. We contain multitudes. Sometimes we have the energy and the time to correct the misassumptions, and everything is fixed. Yay! But sometimes, just like in Teal's story, it gets exhausting to correct bad assumptions and answer incredibly private or invasive questions. Sometimes it just becomes easier to lie, because sometimes we don't trust that the person we're encountering will be able to see the real us or accept us for who we are. But just like Teal said, there was one place in her life where she didn't have to lie about her surrogacy process, and that place was here at church. She knew that even if people didn't understand her decision or were surprised by it, they would accept her and take on a position of curiosity and learning. And this is partly because this is what we do at church. We come to church not just to confirm what we already believe and then leave unchanged, but rather we come to church open to learn new things. Or in the words of our poet, Brianne Janae, let me learn from the babies and be always laughing at my ignorance. Give me only humble discovery. This humble discovery is crucial to building a community of covenant. We agree to be together and interact in a certain way, i.e., to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We don't come to church to teach or to have our pride confirmed. We come with a sense of humility, knowing that what we know on our own is far less than what we know together. We need each other to fill out a broader understanding of our world with multiple perspectives. In the interchange of our ideas, we learn and grow, not despite our differences, but because of them. I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. A few years ago, I was facilitating a class about anti-racism where we watched and discussed films by Black filmmakers. I tried my best to create a setting where the learning that we were accomplishing together could be fun and life-giving. However, many people expressed a sense of embarrassment as we were learning together, essentially saying, "I'm just embarrassed that it's taken me this long to learn this truth. I'm ashamed that I didn't understand the importance of anti-racism work until now." I understood that impulse, and I also felt it in myself. But in those moments, I had to remind the others and myself that it is better to learn late rather than never. If it's a decision between learning late and not learning at all, let's always choose learning. In my ideal world, we would see ourselves as lifelong students, constantly learning and growing. We have the opportunity to encounter new people, new culture, new ideas every single day. And the growth and learning that could come from that is astounding. Rather than experiencing shame for not knowing something earlier, how can we turn to awe and gratitude that we know it now? I mean, we don't know until we know. But how do we stay open to the learning that's being asked of us? Before my time as a minister here, this congregation hosted a workshop around gender and transgender inclusion. I happened to know about it because the same two people that hosted this workshop also hosted one at my home congregation, and I attended it there. The purpose and drive of this workshop was to help educate people about the reality that people exist as part of a broader spectrum of gender identity and expression. So many of us had been taught that there are two and only two boxes to fit into, both regarding our internal understanding of our gender and our external expression of our gender. This workshop helped participants understand that gender is more expansive. And there was a question that still sticks with me from that day. One of the co-facilitators asked, "In what way has this gender binary hurt or affected you? In what way has this simple and undeveloped understanding of gender limited you in your own expression?" In other words, if you were assigned male at birth, have you felt the weight of masculine expectations weighing on you? Have you been harmed by a sense of toxic masculinity? Have you built up an understanding of masculinity or of yourself that has forced you to stifle some of your true expressions? If you were assigned female at birth, have you felt the weight of feminine expectations weighing on you? Have you been harmed by the understanding that others have of femininity? Have you built up an understanding of femininity or of yourself that has prevented you from living as your full self? Culturally speaking, we have been asking these questions for a while now. And many people, especially but not exclusively younger people, have been pushing us as a society to re-examine the gender binary and how it can harm people. Not everyone feels like the gender binary has actually harmed them, and that's okay. You don't have to be harmed by something to hear and believe a story about that same thing harming someone else. Once you hear about that harm, you are called to respond with compassion and love. As our poet Brianne Janae says, "Let me face the ones I harm with open palms, and let love be the method and measure of my worth." For those of us who have been listening, we've been hearing many stories from trans and non-binary people about how much this gender binary has hurt them. We have heard about the pain of being called the wrong name or the wrong pronoun. We have heard about the joy-crushing damage done by the weight of expectations. We have also sadly heard about some queer and trans young folks who have tried to die by suicide. And this just absolutely breaks my heart. For some people, this is life and death. So we understand that love and the covenant inspire us to do this practice here at this church. And we know the absolute seriousness and importance of this practice. So let's move to the third question. Do I have to share my pronouns? This is a great question. I'm so glad you asked. We hope that no one feels forced to share their pronouns unless and until they are ready to do so. And at the same time, we hope to build a community where everyone feels safe and welcome enough to share their pronouns and know that they will be respected. Some people are on their own gender journey and are not yet ready to share with a larger group the pronouns that feel the most authentic for them. However, if you are comfortable sharing your pronouns, we hope that you do, because that contributes to the building of a community where it's just more and more normalized to share our pronouns with each other. We have adopted this practice because of multiple discussions with our trans and non-binary members and friends. They've expressed a need for a practice like this so that they can be sure that their fellow churchgoers know and use the pronouns that help them feel accepted, seen, and valued. And having said that, there are still many reasons that a person might not want to share their pronouns. This practice is by invitation only, and we hope to always make that clear when we invite people to share. I want to give one caveat here. If you don't share your pronouns, many people will make assumptions about what pronouns they should use for you. Maybe those will be right, and maybe they won't be right. Many people will choose not to make assumptions about your gender, and they might start referring to you with they, them pronouns. As many of you know, this has become the accepted standard in virtually all English language style books to refer to a single person whose gender identity is not known or confirmed. For example, if someone forgets their phone here, I wouldn't say, someone left her phone, or someone left his phone, or even more clunky, someone left his or her phone, right? I just say someone left their phone. It might feel strange at first, and if it's new to you, I encourage you to practice using it. I mean, literally, I've been driving my car before practicing. Someone left their phone, interesting. This morning in our announcement, right, Molly used gender inclusive language to say, our candidate, they, them, like, we don't know yet. We'll find out soon. In that same spirit of helping, I have a few don'ts based on things I've actually heard. Here goes. Here's one example. Oh, wow, she uses they, them pronouns. I didn't know that she was non-binary. Right? By your laughter, I gather that some of you understand why that didn't quite work. In this case, the speaker is using the old pronouns for a person who's telling the speaker that they don't use she, her pronouns. Okay, here's another. I just met that person and they don't use the pronouns that I expected them to use. I'm gonna go confront them about it and ask them to educate me. Okay, this one's tricky because you might think it's good that the person wants to be educated. That's true, that is good. But this is one of those examples where you're asking a marginalized person to educate you about why they shouldn't be marginalized. In anti-racism work, the equivalent would be to ask a person of color to explain all the ways that they've experienced racism so that you can help understand how not to be racist. This asks the person of color to have to relive their trauma or pain. A better plan would be to approach a fellow cisgender person who you know to be an ally of trans people and ask them some of your questions. Reverend Roger and I are always open to conversations like these, and we welcome the opportunity to learn and grow with you and companion you wherever you are on this journey. Here's another don't. Recently, after someone explained the importance of using the correct pronouns, someone responded with, okay, well, that sounds like a thing that I should start trying to do sometime soon once I figure it out. Okay, the challenge of this response is twofold. First, the attempt to use the correct pronouns for someone isn't something you should try only when you figured it out or understood more. You don't need to understand why it's important to someone to use the correct pronouns. And also, this shouldn't be some future decision someday soon. I mean, this should be a practice that you can adopt right away. If you found out that you were calling someone Sheila, even though the name was Sharon, you wouldn't say, oh, okay, well, I'll start calling you Sharon soon, right? I mean, you'd say, oh my gosh, Sharon, I'm so sorry I was getting that wrong. How did I do that? Whoops. I'll make that adjustment immediately. And also, I've been calling you Sheila in my head for quite some time, so it might take me a while to make the switch to calling you Sharon, but I'll try really hard, and if I get it wrong, please correct me. Which leads me to the fourth and final question. What if I get it wrong? Okay, I have an answer for you. You will get it wrong. Perfection was never the goal. Relationship is the goal. If you're acting in good faith and trying your best to use the correct pronouns for people, you might still make mistakes, and that's just part of life. It might take some time to undo years or even decades of gendered programming. Here in this community, we are in the practice of offering grace to each other when we make mistakes. And we're also in the practice of holding high levels of accountability to get back on the horse and try again, if and when we fall off. One little piece of advice that I have received, I'm happy to pass it along to you, is if you ever use the wrong pronouns for someone, don't necessarily overreact and dramatically fall on some kind of proverbial sword. Just apologize, correct it, and move on. Also, just a reminder, we all try our best to English as best as we can every day. And I would say that at least once per daily, we make mistakes, right? But we get back up and we try again. So this morning, maybe work together to build a new way. Maybe take one more step to a broader definition of inclusion. Maybe do our best to draw the circle wide. And if we fall, or when we fall, may we forgive ourselves and begin again in love. May it be so, and make it so. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 323 from the gray hardcover hymnal, Break Not the Circle. Please rise in body or spirit. There's really no such thing as the voiceless. There are only the deliberately silenced or the preferably unheard. Together, may we resist and combat the silencing of our siblings. And may we hear each other and honor each other as we covenant together in love. Go in peace.